Are you stuck in the middle often with your family? Your husband is wanting calm and quiet so his brain can think, and your kids, oh, they're little engines there, like the eternal burning sun, and they will never stop moving. And you're caught in the middle of trying to make everything work out. Well, hey, today I am sharing with you 3 simple steps that we have done to begin changing it from you being in the middle to having a plan that's outside of yourself and your family can operate together.
Hey friend, do the daily demands of family life leave little time for self-care? Are you losing yourself in the process of caring for others? Are you ready to make self-care and healthy boundaries a natural part of your day while embracing your roles as a wife and mom? Well, I'm so glad you're here. I'm Christina, married 17 years to a neurodiverse man, mom of 3 neurodiverse kids, and many more roles. Welcome to the Moms and Neurodiverse Families podcast. Get ready to begin your self-care journey. Grab your planner and listen in as we take another small step towards a peaceful, healthier you.
It seemed impossible. Literally, it was impossible for me to figure out how to solve this issue. The issue between my husband's needs and my kids' needs, specifically regarding sensory challenges. I'm sure you've been there as well. Your husband is needing quiet, needing low activity time, a chance to recoup, and your kids are busting with energy and they are nonstop and they need to get the energy out. Or maybe it's the opposite. Everyone has different sensory profiles, but you are caught in the middle because one party is wanting quieter solitude and another party is wanting to jump on the trampoline. Maybe they make special sounds with a toy they have, or maybe they're very verbal and when they're playing video games, they are describing every action that they're taking. When you have this mismatch of sensory needs and challenges in a neurodiverse family, it can be really hard, especially when your focus is so much on them and trying to figure out how to make the family work. Your self-care goes down the drain as well. So today I want to share with you 3 simple steps so everyone is on the same page and have the time and ability to sensory regulate. So the first step is aware. Is everyone aware of what they need to come back to their normal self, to return to who they are, their true self, their best self, after having a difficult experience, after having a hard day, after having expected actions blow up in their face? Now, for children, obviously they don't. They may figure it out as they get older. Adults, oftentimes we do. I highly suggest working with an occupational therapist who focuses on sensory needs and integrating that with how their body operates, because they oftentimes will be able to watch and observe your child and be able to see, oh, I'm seeing that your child, after they bounce on the trampoline or after they do these type of activities, they are calmer. I can see that they have proprioceptive challenges or they are very auditory stimulated. They will begin giving you feedback. And honestly, by going to those appointments, and I insisted being in those appointments, and thankfully I found a practitioner who was very flexible and let me be there, I myself learned and I asked questions and I read books and I began understanding the sensory profiles and that some were seekers, some sought out certain activities and afterwards they felt calm. Now others, they would seek out certain activities and they would be jacked up higher. And that was a challenge. So began realizing, oh, when kid A is really escalated, they should not be playing tackle football because they will keep going and going and going and their poor siblings will be all bruised. So that was not an answer. However, we found that we could do a short burst of activities with that child for about 1 or 2 minutes and then we had to stop, by stopping, that allowed them to get some of the activity needed out, and then they went on to a different calming activity. My point being is there are so many different sensory profiles, and those who sometimes actually avoid being around bright lights or bright sounds, and some actually need stimulation. Those are kids who often are lying down, they're not very energetic, they sometimes low muscle tone, they naturally are not wanting to seek out sensory experiences. They prefer to be avoiders. And so for those, you actually may need to have more of a stimulating activities for them. The point being, again, everyone is so different, and to be aware, and especially for your spouse, and this was a big thing for us, for your husband to be aware, hey, listen, you may prefer no noise, no lights, a quiet atmosphere, and after 15, 20 minutes, you are feeling better. But for another child, that could be very difficult depending upon where they're at in that moment. They may need to be with someone else first, co-regulate, become calmer, then they can go by themselves. Being by themselves may actually be too overwhelming and cause other problems. So for your spouse to be aware, hey, this is how you feel better and regulate after work, and this is how they do it. That awareness is the first step. Now, a quick comment here about activities we do for sensory regulation. They're somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes as we do activities, whether it is on a trampoline, maybe they're doing a crab walk on the floor. It could be some fine motor skills activities. Whatever the activity is, usually within 15 to 30 minutes, the child is feeling more calm. They're feeling more at home in their body. They don't feel like everything is going crazy. There are times when people will be avoiding life, avoiding activities, and using quote unquote calming activities to do the purpose. And that is a big distinction. Coming home from work, does your husband need or yourself need 15, 20 minutes to transition if they're not able to in the drive home? Yes. Is it 3 hours? No. If someone lost a job that day, are they going to need more time? Yes. If someone is driving home from work, do they need the normal 15, 20 minutes? Yes. If someone had a car accident, they're going to need more time. I hope this makes sense. Normal activities, sensory regulation, oftentimes is 15 to 30 minutes. When there is a big event that happens, a death in the family, a death of a pet, there's going to be a bigger amount of time that's going to be needed often. However, needing 3 hours every single day, that means that activity is not meeting the need for the child or for the adult. So just that awareness is important, but also, is the activity sensory regulating or is it avoiding? That's a big distinction. Okay, step number 2, respect. We need to have respect that one person is made different than us in the image of God, and for them, they may need to be outside. I have a person in the family where they do great being outside, and they'll be walking around and kind of doing their own thing for 15, 20 minutes, and they'll come back in the house and be absolutely great. Now, someone else who's watching them and say, like, why are they doing that? Like, I wish they wouldn't do that. I'm like, well, just don't watch them. Just, let's have respect. They're just choosing to be out there outside and having a fun time. And if for some reason that whatever activity they're doing, if they're repetitively throwing a ball in the air, whatever it might be, well, then just pivot and don't watch. But be respectful. That is their way of regulating. Just as if someone really loves playing with cards, they like the feel of the cards, they like to shovel it, they like the sound of it, that is completely fine. And someone else who's like, I hate that sound. Well, that works for this other individual. Now, this is where the respect also comes in, is that we have, and this will go into the next step of the plan, but we have certain activities where, like, that's fine, you want to do it, But because we're in a community area, that activity can't happen out here. That has to be outside, or it needs to be in your room or in a separate room of the house away from everyone. For example, could be if, let's say somebody in your family has a lot of vocal stimming and hand motion that they do, but another person needs to have quiet. The request would be the person who needs to do that the stimming and the actions with their hands. They should go into a different part of the house and they can go ahead and do that. There is respect. We don't stop the other person from doing that action because they're not harming themselves. They're not harming someone else, and they're not damaging property. When those things begin happening, if it's harmful to someone else, as in it causes someone else to have a meltdown, in not a controlling way, as in like, I don't like what you're doing, so I'm going to have a meltdown. More of, I can't handle this sound. The sound you're making is making my brain hurt. Then that person, out of respect, goes to a different place. If they're damaging property, for example, I feel great when I take a baseball bat to a door, to a tree. I mean, that would be an example of, you might feel calmer, but you're damaging property. That's not being respectful. So hopefully that gives some perspective on like how we're working towards, one, we're being aware. Step number two, giving respect to everyone with their sensory challenges, but also not damaging themselves or property or anyone else, not being harmful. Number three, having a plan. Okay, this is important because there will be times, as you've already experienced, where you're caught in the middle. One person needs quiet, another person needs to do activity because they feel like they're about to blow up inside. This is my suggestion for a plan. One, have a type of code word that you can utilize when someone is overwhelmed. Usually quiet is needed for one person, another person needs activity. So for 1 minute, you say whatever that code word is, and everyone is quiet. There is no activity. There's no running around, unloading the dishwasher or jumping a trampoline or cleaning the house, vacuuming, none of that. For 1 minute, you say the code word, and this is some training involved, obviously. It took us a couple of times to get there, but you say the code word, and then 1 minute it's quiet. And then after that, you say, whatever the code, code whatever is over. And then people know, we go back to our activity. Because if you don't say when it's over, I have found that people will begin not judging time correctly and they'll begin making noise. So that's important. So start of a code, you end the code. And oftentimes a person will be doing better. And then we regroup and say, hey, what needs to happen right here? It sounds like you're frustrated. Is there something you're needing? Is to talk about? Is there something that you need to go have some solitude and then come back to the family? Or is there a sensory calming activity that you're needing? Just checking in. Now, the next step we have is if someone is still experiencing difficulties, I will take a quick assessment of this situation. And is anyone doing an activity that really should not be done in a community area? For example, musical instruments is one item that we have said, no, we cannot be playing piano, recorder, drums, nothing in a community area. That's just been a flat out rule. They can play it. It's just not in the community area because it impacts so many people. And there's too many people who are having problems with that sound. So a quick assessment of, hey, is there something going on here that really like, oh, you know what? Remember, we're a community. And if we're in a community space, if you're the only one in the downstairs floor, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that activity. But now we have other people here, so you need to take that someplace else. After I do that assessment, and we make sure that we're all on the same page, if someone is still having challenges, then we would look at doing another code. And that's basically a 5 minute of quiet activity. People can talk quietly. People can they can be reading their book. They can be walking around the house. So the first code is really, there's no activity, there's no sound. It's a complete sensory deprivation for 1 minute. This next one for 5 minutes is there's quiet activity. There's maybe very quiet conversations. And if your kids don't know how to whisper or don't know how to talk quietly, you may just have to do no talking completely, because when the kids are younger, there are times where their whisper, I'm like, that's no whisper. A librarian is going to kick you out. So judge for yourself what would be the best thing. But basically, it's just 5 minutes of a quieter moment. And then seeing if that helps that person. At that point, if it doesn't, then that person needs to go to another location of the house and do their sensory regulation. Now, you might decide like, hey, we're not even going to do a 1 minute of like absolute quietness and no sound and no movement. We're going to go right into go do a sensory diet, which that usually is certain activities that are known to be calming for you. There's different ways you can do, but have a plan. Have a plan that when you start seeing that yourself or your kids or your spouse is getting escalated, what is going to be that plan? And I do suggest having some general plans, because you'll be in a car sometimes and traveling. You can't go to different parts of the house. And that's where we came up with a code for 1 minute of silence and no activity. And then the code for 5 minutes of just quiet activity. Because when you're in a car, there's so many limitations. In fact, sometimes now we take 2 vehicles for trips because of that reason. But we need to have these plans in place. So again, real quick, is everyone aware of what their own sensory needs are and how aware of what helps them to be calmer? And are they aware of what everyone else's sensory needs are in the family? Even if someone is not neurodivergent, there's still sensory profile with that person. It's that they're not as impacted as strongly as someone who's neurodiverse. So I think that respect is very important. And then finally, having a plan. What is the plan when you're in a community family setting of how you will handle when someone gets escalated? And following up that no, video games and TV are not a way for us to regulate. Just a quick tip there. Those are avoiders, and they sometimes can actually just delay the problem. And when that TV goes off, that problem is still there. So having a plan of certain activities they can do and how to handle things in a group setting is so important. I hope you find this helpful. And I would really love to hear if there's other topics that you would like me to chat about, like, hey, Christina, have you found a solution for X, Y, and Z? Send me a message either on Instagram or on Facebook, and I would love to do an episode on that. Hey, thank you for joining me today. I pray this episode gave you encouragement to take one small step. If so, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts to help other women find this show. By the way, if you're loving this conversation and want more encouragement like this, join my email list at bit.ly/myselfcare. That is bit.ly/myselfcare. I have a planner launching soon that will help you put all this into action in your own life. I look forward to chatting with you again next week for another episode.